Space Action Podcast with your hosts Chris Carson and DC and Shama.
Welcome to Space Action Podcast, a division of Space Action Heroes, a webcomic you can find at spaceactionheroes.com. I feel like we need to write a new intro script. But anyways, my name is Chris Carson.
I'm DC and Shama.
And this week we're talking about the Mickey Mouse of Pixar, Toy Story 4.
Everyone, Bonnie made a friend in class.
Oh, she's already making friends.
No, she literally made a new friend. I want you to meet Forky.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
He's a spork.
Yes, yeah, I know. Forky is the most important toy to Bonnie right now. We all have to make sure nothing happens to him.
Woody, we have a situation.
I am not a toy. I was made for soup, salad, maybe chili, and then the trash.
Buzz, we've got to get Forky.
Affirmative.
Girlfriend in me. Okay.
So yeah, Toy Story 4, it's like a decade between movies now.
Yeah.
In or around. So they keep targeting the next generation.
Smart.
Yeah, it
Fucking
is.
smart, dude.
I wonder if they're going to be doing remakes of their live action every 10 years.
Wait, of the live action remakes? Like
Remakes.
Another, like, Lion King?
Yeah.
A third Lion King?
I'm wondering.
Like a VR Lion King?
Yeah, like why not? Like,
be kinda
because
cool.
10-year-olds now who are obsessed with Lion King will be 20, and then the new 10-year-olds will need a new Lion King because they don't understand people can watch old movies.
Maybe like a space Lion King?
Yeah.
It's like Voltron.
I want to see Voltron Lion King. But yeah, Toy Story 4. After, what was the last one? It feels like it was just yesterday because we're getting old, but the last one was
It's about 9-10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
like 2009, 2008
Yeah.
or something.
Which
Which, in my opinion, was as perfect of an ending as Indiana Jones riding off into the sunset.
I think everybody felt the same way when they said they were doing 4. It's like, why?
Why?
That was the perfect ending.
And I don't want to, I'm going to shit on it a bit because it's more fun to shit on things than praise things, to be honest with you. Especially movies, because who gives a fuck about movies? I mean, movies are the
Just
greatest.
two guys who have a
Do a
podcast about movies.
Listen to our movies, or listen to our opinions. But I felt it was kind of unnecessary. It was a nice little story, but ultimately not really needed.
Okay, I'll put it this way, because there's an opening shot where we do the whole montage of the 3 movies, all the way from Andy as a kid to Andy handing off his... I really should have Google searched the name of the one girl.
The little girl's name, what was her name? Why is it so hard to...
Gracie?
Let's go with Gracie. Bonnie.
Thank you.
Bonnie. It's Bonnie. Bonnie.
So it starts with the reboot shot, which I like, the literal reboot shot. We go through the entire montage of the 3 movies with him handing off the toys to Bonnie, and it pans down to Woody's boot,
Yep.
which now says Bonnie instead of Andy. It was at that moment I was like, oh, I get it.
It's a literal reboot.
This is like The Force Awakens to Star Wars. Like, we're rebooting the franchise. So I don't want to spoil too much about the end, but that's kind of where I was like, oh, I get it now. Like, we're just trying to keep this brand going.
And we'll get into spoilers.
Better than we did in the last one.
Yeah. Just always be cautious.
Always be caught. And this movie's been out for a while now.
That's true. We're a little late to the game.
I think anyone who wants to see this one
Has already seen it.
has fucking already seen it. If you're waiting for it on home video, let me put it this way. Toys get lost. An exciting adventure ensues. There's a spooky villain.
Surprisingly, the whole movie takes place over like 12 hours, too.
It's like a day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't want to wax philosophical about fucking Toy Story because it is just a kid's movie. But, like, this one, it just felt like we're trying to keep this franchise alive, but we need to find a reason to keep it going. Let's bring closure to at least one character.
Which brings me to my point about how I think the opening should have been Woody's first day.
His first, and we talked about this, but I don't think you can do it because it's
there's
always
holes in that.
it always bugged the fuck out of me that like Buzz Lightyear has to learn that he's not a toy. Because he thinks he's the toy from the television show. Meanwhile, Woody knows he's a toy the whole time, but somehow doesn't remember he's part of a fucking television show that came out in the 50s. So does it mean?
And also, Andy wouldn't have been his first kid.
No,
So
presumably it was Andy's mom's.
Someone
had the Woody doll back in the 60s. So I don't really get who got the first Woody.
Yeah. And if he was like, and they've already established that in the part 2, when they go to the toy store, all the toys in their boxes are already awake. So either Woody went mad sitting in a box for 50 years until he was opened, or he's had a few kids.
Right.
So I think they just wanted to ignore that rabbit hole.
So they just went straight into it.
They just went straight into the last adventures of Bo, basically, before she was taken away.
Man, dude, the first thing I want to say, the animation in this movie, fucking bananas.
Do you find Woody's face a little creepy, especially when he's getting snuggled by children? Just a dash of creepy.
Well, it's kind of hard whenever children are sleeping and you're like a grown
ooh.
adult cowboy cuddling up next to
just Tom
them.
Hanks.
It's just Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing I think that the animation's nuts. Like that whole opening in the rain.
God.
It was like the uncanny valley has been bridged.
Oh yeah,
like
for environments.
For
Not
environments,
for people yet.
Not for people, but definitely for textures. Like just the way like water was beating up on the plastic, but soaking into the fucking fabrics.
That first shot looked live action.
It was disturbing. I was like, do they just have mutant toys that they film now?
Right.
Like, how much money does Pixar have? I think they've got the technology now.
Actually given consciousness to toys.
Yeah, exactly. Like even just like the subtle things I noticed, like the blurring around the edges of the frame to make it look like it was shot with a lens. I'm like, it's nuts now.
No, it's crazy. I know that companies copyright their technologies, but I'm surprised. I imagine they do. They share through their parent company, Disney. I imagine a lot of Marvel's environments are CGI.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I was thinking about because of that Lion King movie coming out, the new one.
Ugh, the muted colors from one of the most colorful movies ever
Right.
made.
Fair, but it kind of goes into what I want to say is that I don't think you can make those colors work in a realistic landscape. I've never seen The Jungle Book until recently. I'm only about 15 minutes into it. But it took me those first 50 minutes to be like, none of this is real. This is just essentially a CGI movie with a character with a human being on a green screen. I'm watching the Lion King trailer. I'm like, none of this is real. I don't think they shot realistic background plates or anything.
No, it's all
So it's
animated.
all CGI. I kind of respect him for that. Like the fact that like Disney has become this weird powerhouse for visual effects. Like they're like ILM back in the day.
LucasArts. They own ILM now.
Yeah, so it's just this big powerhouse of just like we've got this look down to a T. We can de-age motherfuckers. We can create realistic fake environments.
It's creepy.
It's bananas.
Yeah.
When they were in the antique shop and just all the little gritty detail, like the dust bunnies and shit, I'm like, this is getting nuts.
Let's officially go into spoiler territory because I want to talk about the villain of this movie. Who
Christina
I thought,
Hendricks?
She was great. I love how lovable she ended up being, how sympathetic she ended up being.
That's one of my biggest problems about the last two Toy Stories is that the villain's been a carbon copy of this guy who was left on the shelf, and he hates his former owner because she didn't play with him enough, and now he just scorns all toys.
But again, now you saying that right now has made me realize that this was just Last Jedi-esque literal flipping of that.
Or she just wants to be played with.
Yeah.
That makes it more tragic, though.
Yeah. Oh no, it's super tragic.
Yeah.
But now the originality aspect just drained away from my thoughts.
But you needed that, like in terms of just providing a villain that hasn't been done before. Like Lotso is literally just the fucking is Frasier. Lotso the bear. He smells like strawberries. He's just Frasier. He's literally just the same. Like he has the same speech at one point where he's like, "Every toy was picked off the shelf and I was forced to stay behind." I'm like, okay, I get it.
What was Frasier's character's name?
Stinky Pete.
Stinky
Oh my
Pete.
god, I can't even remember that.
Yeah.
The prospector, Stinky Pete.
Yeah, and he was pissed off because he'd been collectible.
Well, he was pissed off because basically the show got canceled once Sputnik went up in the air and all the kids just wanted to play with space toys.
Right.
So he was fucking bitter that like space toys had taken over everything.
I wonder if Pixar was aware that Kelsey Grammer was banging his underage babysitter at the time.
Probably.
Off topic, did I tell you I found an old People magazine year in review from 1994? And there's an article in it about Kelsey Grammer. It's like, this has been a great year for Kelsey Grammer. Frasier's at the top of the ratings. He just tested the waters of movies with Down Periscope. And he's currently settling a lawsuit with his underage babysitter. But he's quoted as saying, "I hope this is all behind me soon." And it's just like, I read that article with the times they are a-changin' just playing in my head.
See, I just imagine him like neck deep in fucking legal troubles. Maybe I hear the blues are calling the salad.
I've gone down a Frasier rabbit hole, by the way, recently. I've watched almost every episode, but
Yeah.
it's a whole other podcast.
Does it fucking change your perspective of the show knowing that Kelsey Grammer's kind of a piece of shit?
Honestly. It's kind of weird because I hate sitcoms, but I love Seinfeld and I love Frasier, and I don't know why.
Which is weird because Seinfeld I get because it's so loopy. I dare anyone to watch the first 3 minutes of any Seinfeld episode and guess where it's gonna go.
Oh, for sure.
But Frasier,
I don't know.
it's the same fucking thing.
That's what I've noticed, though, as they must have switched writers at some point, because that whole misunderstanding thing doesn't really start until about season 5. And
Gotcha.
then they have a couple here and there in the first few seasons, but it's like every fucking episode after season 5-ish.
Which episode is it? The one I always remember where I was like, oh, that was actually really, really well written. They go to their old cabin, and it's just him, Niles, and his dad, and they have to kind of just hash out a lot of shit, specifically about their mom.
That's you described about 50 Frasier episodes right now, because they've done that ice fishing. They've done that at
That's the ice
several
fishing one.
cabins.
There's more than one cabin
Oh, yeah.
episode? Oh,
Oh.
Jesus, never mind
Yeah.
that.
I just watched one recently where Martin and his girlfriend accidentally invited Frasier, Niles, and Daphne to their cabin. They always go. It's the elevator episode, trapped in an elevator episode, but they always find some
Yeah, you're
cabin
right.
or ice fishing thing.
You're right.
And then once Daphne and Niles got together, the show was kind of stupid after that, because Niles is a creepy little pervert who's obsessed over a British girl. The idea that they get together is really weird.
And he's married the whole time, so it's kind of like, oh, he just leaves his wife for the hot fucking... To be fair, though, wouldn't you leave for Jane Leaves?
He leaves his second wife. He divorces Maris and then gets married again and leaves her for Daphne.
It's Daphne. It's Jane Leaves.
It's Jane Leaves.
She's gorgeous. She's charming. She's hilarious. I can't blame him.
2019 Jane Leaves is a little mummified with the plastic surgery, but
Sitcoms, man. They're not kind to their... Have you seen fucking Chandler recently? And that dude's hard up, yo.
there's two paths to ugly, which is either age naturally or have work done. Both look horrible. You just have to choose which one you want. And
Right.
most celebrities tend to choose the pulled back, taut face version of ugly.
Well, Jane Leaves was also that fucking ladybug in James and the Giant Peach. So
Oh, was she?
She's always near and dear to my heart.
I gotta watch James and the Giant Peach again.
It's a good one.
It's been so long.
It's good, man. Henry Selick firing on all cylinders with
Yeah.
Henry Selick telling a Roald Dahl story.
Yeah.
Like, come on, that's just badass.
I remember when I watched it, I was disappointed because I didn't think it lived up to Nightmare Before Christmas in terms of just the aesthetic of it and the design of everything, which is what Tim Burton's contribution was to the Nightmare
You're
Before
spending
Christmas.
90% of the movie on a peach above the ocean, so yeah.
But I gotta watch again as an adult and be like, and just study it from that perspective.
Whenever you see like a flock of seagulls and you realize like they had to animate
Every single
a
frame.
fucking like 6 seagulls, like
Yeah.
it's pretty impressive a feat.
And on the animation front, I read an article recently about Toy Story 4 took something like it was like 4,000 hours of render time.
I believe that.
Because they had like 600 computers set up. It took up to a week to render a single frame.
I believe that, dude. Like,
Yeah.
they had textures. Like, I kind of like the way they did a similar thing they did with The Incredibles, where they didn't change the animation aesthetic, but just the textures of, like, the clothing and the hair. They just upped it
So much.
so much.
And that cat looks amazing.
That cat looked goddamn real. Like, there's to the
Yeah.
point where I'm like, did they just film a fucking cat?
Yeah.
Like,
Compared to that dog from the first one that looked like a reject from PlayStation 2.
I love that dog with the derpy fucking eyes.
Yeah.
That dog's hilarious.
And their blinks that didn't line up.
That's a classic. Yeah, they never blink at the same time.
Yeah,
I love
They
that.
had a problem with the code or something, yeah.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
I thought it was an intentional choice
No.
to make him look more organic.
No, that was completely, it was a fuck up on the coding.
It works though.
It does.
It
But
works perfectly.
I think they never awkward blinked in any other movie. They just blinked normally once they figured it out.
That's interesting, man.
But to break down Toy Story 4, it's about 12 hours. Bonnie they're going away to celebrate.
It starts with her first day of school.
First day of school, which Forky. This movie was like a 3 out of 5. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad, but Forky may be one of my favorite animated characters
Genius.
of all time.
One of the most genius characters.
Trash. Trash. He's like mentally inefficient. Wow, who's mentally inefficient now? Because he's literally birthed out of a backpack. He's like, and he's having this like existential crisis.
Clever. And I love the way that going into like one of the things I thought was really interesting about this movie is one, Forky, but two, also because Pixar's really good at taking intangible weirdness and making it very real. Like, what if a a widowed old man wanted to take one last amazing venture in the name of his wife. What if all of our emotional traits were summed up as like an office, and each one had control over the personality? How does like, blah, 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 blah. This one, the existential crisis of like Woody feels a sense of parenthood for this guy because he's responsible for him. He felt bad for Bonnie on the first day of school, and he just brought that character into life. So now he's like, I kind of made this guy.
Yeah.
So now I have to take care of him.
And then there are layers to it because he did it for incredibly selfish reasons. Because he was feeling neglected and rejected. He was becoming a closet toy, just abandoned when he was played with.
Did you notice the fucking crew in the closet was like Mel Brooks?
Really?
Carl Reiner, I forget. I think Carol Brunette's in there. It's all these retired old comics.
I didn't even notice.
I was like, "That's fucking brilliant."
That is great. And Buzz Lightyear got really pushed to the back burner. And
I don't feel like this movie wasn't for him because again,
No.
we had to make it as much about Woody as possible because spoilers, this movie retires him essentially.
I'm sure he'll be back, but
There's no way he won't be back.
But
But
I'm wondering if Tim Allen's politics got involved in the way, because I mean, technically, you could write anything. Buzz could have been along on the adventure with him. He could have had his own arc. Who knows? But he was really relegated to a background character.
Sure.
And I'm wondering if that's because Tim Allen has become like this right wing douchebag recently.
might be. He's in the right company, quite literally and metaphorically.
Right.
But having said that, I do love what they did with Forky. Like the scene I thought was really profound was whenever he's like, "You're her toy. You make her feel warm and comfortable.
Like
and
trash
safe."
makes
like
me feel?
And she's like, "I'm her trash. We have to get back to her." I'm
Yeah.
like, you just explained to me
Yeah.
how healthy relationships work
Yeah.
in the weirdest fucking way I have ever seen.
And it was vague. I found that vaguely weird too, because it was seeing a toy find its purpose.
Yes.
You're like, oh, that's creepy almost.
Yeah. The one
good
that-
creepy, but creepy.
The thing they really drove home in this one was the weird, again, taking something wacky but making it tangible. The relationship that toys have to the kids, because it's kind of parental in the sense of like the toys have an adult sentience. They're very experienced. They've been around for years. They have to take care of this kid and keep them
That's
happy.
their whole purpose. The kids are their god.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of romantic in the sense of like they're like partners.
Yeah.
Like when they find the lost toys and they're like, "Oh, you had a girl. That's so. I had a girl for 4 years and then
Yeah.
we parted ways."
I kind of saw that as like, oh, you had a deity. Because
Oh,
you know what I
gotcha.
mean? Like, 'cause
Right.
they have that warmth of a god,
Right.
And they want to please it and worship it at the same time,
Right.
And I take humans to toys very much as a
Godlike thing.
Yeah.
I always feel like it's just the way he talks about Andy and then eventually Bonnie. You can tell what he's all about. Like, I have to keep this kid fucking happy. It was just really cute. The idea of just like, what does a guy do? It was almost like a midlife crisis. He's like, well, my job's done. She wants to play with,
Or like a retirement crisis.
yeah, a retirement crisis where he's just like, what does a guy do
Yeah.
whenever he retires? I thought that was clever for this universe,
Yeah.
especially because in all these movies, especially in like 2 and 3, they were like weird heist movies, like action adventure Indiana
they kinda
Jones
are, aren't
movies.
they?
They went from being just like hapless toys to like, oh, they have plans and like code red and they do this crazy thing.
Yeah.
So they make them really badass. What better way to retire Woody than like he gets to go be badass? He gets to live on the Fury Road with his partner for the rest of his life. I'm like, that worked for me. That totally was an ending I didn't know I wanted.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more profound than like, oh, they left Andy. That's the end of the story. No, you're the first guy you meet. Woody gets to retire. He gets to have a life of his own. I'm like, that was like when he hugs Buzz Lightyear at the end. I was like, dude, this works for me.
But there's bizarre layers because like I'd love to have been in the writer's room for it because it's like the relationship between toys and people can be defined as like a deity or just pure love, innocent love, and then for him to abandon that to find himself, which could be arguably selfish, but then it isn't objectively,
Right.
So it's a layered concept
That's
for him
what-
to abandon his kid.
And that's what I loved about it. I was like, I did not expect that ending.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, it got me so hard whenever Buzz is like, she'll be okay. And you see me talking about both people. He's like, no, Bonnie will be okay. Like, dude, you've been giving your whole life for these kids. You made Andy happy. Your job's kind of done. Like, it's okay. You can have a life of your own. I didn't expect that.
No.
Like, I never realized how badly I wanted that moment to happen.
See, and then it kind of makes you feel bad for the rest of the toys because they still have to go through that process.
But, like
Buzz, eventually Buzz will be in the closet going, oh.
That's true.
You know?
That's true. But it does comfort me knowing there is a retirement plan for toys. They can just go AWOL and hang
Fuck
out
off.
in parks and stuff.
Hang out in robotic skunks.
Dude, that robotic skunk, that like Mad Max Fury Road vehicle she had, that was awesome.
It was hilarious, their way of getting around.
It was genius. The one thing that I kind of bumped up against this movie is because there become certain points where how far can you push this idea of like toys becoming sentient and running around? You get to the point where it's like they hijack the RV. How?
Yeah.
Fuck you. They just do, okay?
I'm glad you brought that up because that got a little excessive.
Oh, yeah.
A little excessive, where it's like these people would think this RV is haunted.
Yes.
Or that
They would
went
look under the
mad.
gas pedal and see the toys yanking on them or something.
Something. It was a little because they worked so hard to do it behind everyone's back in the previous films. This one, it was so obtuse.
Yep.
It was so obtuse.
And I think it's because the situations are getting more and more extreme. It's
Right.
like, we have to...
What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna fucking do? You find a way to resolve this.
I was listening, and then I kept forgetting because I was just watching the movie, and I kept forgetting to be listening for how they covered Jim Varney and Don Rickles.
Ah, Don Rickles was kind of
He
obvious.
had like 3 lines.
Yeah, and they were very obviously just clipped out of...
Yeah.
Even the delivery, you could kind of tell. Like,
I noticed one.
Yeah. Varney, I think they just got the same actor who replaced him in 3.
Oh, it was a new actor? They
New
didn't just
actor.
use new clips?
Yeah, it's a new guy. He sounds exactly like him.
Is anyone else dead? Or left?
Potato Head's dead. That's so like when I let me rephrase it. Don Rickles.
Don Rickles is dead. And the toy Potato Head is kind of dead. I don't really know anyone with a potato head anymore, but...
Nah, and if it is, it looks like the Toy Story one. I have one of the classic ones.
Oh, the originals.
It's so disturbing. It's all brown and it has like a fleshy colored nose.
That's really horrifying.
It's disgusting.
I never really understood Mr. Potato Head.
If I'm not mistaken, it was just an idea of this like it was like a pet rock.
Yeah,
I'm gonna sell you
could
these.
change his expression.
Yeah, like I'm gonna sell you these because the OG ones were legit. You had to just buy a potato and then
Right.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
get these little eyepieces and mouths and just jam it in the fucking potato.
And they started to sell little brown potato-looking
Exactly.
plastic things.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's Woody's movie, so I totally get why they pushed literally everybody. Jesse, Bullseye, Rex, everyone got
They
pushed to the
kind of
background.
replaced Buzz with Keanu Reeves.
God, what was his fucking name? Doom Kaboom.
Boom, yeah. Duke Kaboom.
Duke Kaboom. Dude,
I
fucking hilarious.
I know I'm going to be in the minority on this, but I don't understand the Keanu renaissance.
I like having Keanu around because in an era where most of our fucking heroes have turned out to be horrible
Monsters?
douchebag
Oh,
monsters.
just wait for it. It's
No, the dude is just like he just seems to be like this airheaded Canadian West Coast easygoing guy. So I'll give him that, man. Like especially those John Wick movies. The first one is one of the best action movies I've seen in the past.
You know,
10 years.
I've never seen any of them.
It's done really well, dude. You would like it as someone who likes cinematography. It's what I like about those films is that it's not action sequences chopped up to create the action. They have the camera moving.
Oh, it's
through
that one take sort of?
one take kind of thing. So it's almost like a ballet. It's shot really. I can't say the same for number 2 because I don't remember it that well, and I haven't seen 3. But it's him. That dude is just baby faced but badass.
Well, let me clarify. Because I think Keanu Reeves as a person, obviously, is amazing. But as an actor, I'm not so sure.
He's the same guy in every movie.
He's the same guy in every movie.
Every movie.
And I was actually watching a making of or something recently about how the transition that Disney had between using voice actors and celebrities. I'm not a huge fan of using celebrities because celebrities typically have one voice unless they're a character actor. Voice actors can do anything. So watching Toy Story 4, I was like, that's just Keanu Reeves. And it even got to a point where I was like, that's just Tom Hanks. That's just Tim Allen. That's just... And I don't like that. I prefer to have character actors or voice actors.
Or a worst case scenario, you have Mike Myers doing Shrek, where he's doing an actual character.
A character within the movie. And even Shrek probably would have benefited from, in the long term, from an actual voice actor. Like someone like the guy who does Bender on Futurama, or Dan Castellaneta.
John DiMaggio,
or all those guys. So that took me out of it. Because all I could picture was Keanu Reeves in a soundstage, or in a recording booth, doing the lines.
Right.
And so that bugged me a little. I was like, I'm not seeing the character, I'm seeing the actor.
Sure. Yeah, they were a little better back in the day of casting people to the role. Like when I think of perfect example, Mike and Sully from Monsters Inc. I don't think of Billy Crystal and John Goodman for a second.
No,
when I hear
not
those
at all.
characters. But I see what you're saying with him. But dude, they made a Boxing Day joke. How often is it you see a movie? I thought that... Like,
Wait, what was the Boxing Day joke?
the joke goes nowhere because people in Canada are so familiarized with Boxing Day, they don't see it as funny. And then people in the States don't know what Boxing Day
What that even is.
So it doesn't land. So they're showing... Because Duke Kaboom, for people who don't know, was based on the old Evel Knievel toy.
Yeah.
And people... There was a huge outroar that used to pull the little rip thing and set it down, and it didn't do the jump that it did in the commercial. And people infamously got furious. So the whole joke in this movie is that he can't complete this amazing impossible jump.
Yeah, he's full of self-doubt.
Dude, whenever he just has that fucking flashback to the kid mid-jump and he's
I can't do this! Yeah.
So good. Whenever he's unboxed, he's like, it was a beautiful Boxing Day, the day where I was unboxed, blah, blah, blah. And it's so glossed over. I thought that was fun. Like, did Pixar just make a Canadian nod? That's really cute. But no one in Canada gets that joke. No one in the States gets that joke.
I didn't even notice it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No one in my theater thought that was funny, but you could feel the writers like fist bumping. Oh, the Canucks will love this one.
Boxing Day, clink. I guess the States doesn't have Boxing Day, do they?
They don't.
What the fuck is Boxing Day, anyways?
Boxing Day is strictly for the colonies. I've looked this up, and I'm not shitting you. If I'm not mistaken, Boxing Day is a tradition where you're supposed to, like, literally... You got shit on Christmas, so you box up your old shit that you don't want anymore.
We always have Boxing Day sales. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like our Black Friday, but after Christmas.
Yeah. I think that's it.
That's it?
I think. I could be just told. Maybe I'm just misremembering.
Dutch. I'm going to guess. Dutch. Yeah. Doesn't it sound kind of Dutch?
Boxing Day?
Yeah. Like you box up your old things. It sounds a little Dutch.
Take your stuff and box out. It's Swedish. I'm doing Swedish.
You're boxing out. You become the Swedish chef.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't even notice that joke.
That killed me. I thought that was hilarious.
That's funny.
But I really like the way the villain in this one
she's so sympathetic.
It's so sympathetic. And also the body horror of like, I need your voice box. Just the calm, simple way that she presents the problem.
And just the creepy eyes when she's staring at him.
All the fucking...
Oh, the dummies. The dummies were literally horrifying.
That was... this.
And they were xenomorphing after them through the cracks.
Fucking horrifying.
That was horrifying.
Like, as a Goosebumps nerd, I was like, I could deal with one of these when I was a kid. I can't deal with 4 of them.
I don't... Like, it's weird that it's just not a kid's movie, ultimately. Like, when you really break it down, there are horrifying moments and it's dealing with really adult themes.
I was thinking that in the third one, whenever...
definitely the third one. Whenever
Lotso's like, if you don't want to play by the rules, we'll literally imprison you.
Yeah.
And have this psychotic monkey monitoring you. Like, they kind of... It gets very...
Well, they
for lack of a better term, concentration campy by the end of the third one, you know?
And they accept death.
Yeah! Oh, I forgot about that!
Like, that's fucked up. They're all holding hands like we're embracing our demise.
Did you see that fucking edit? So someone edited the end of the movie.
So as they're
going into the fight, it just fades to black, and then
No, it was someone tricked their mom.
Yes,
yeah,
and they played it, and everyone in the room's like, "Well, that's not very nice." It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
I do remember that. That was hilarious. Because it's weird because. Arguably, other Pixar movies are still very kiddie, but the Toy Story franchise seems to be like, no, this is our flagship.
I think it's because they know the original audience is old enough to bring their own kids, so they're like, listen, you're probably feeling some of this shit that they're feeling, like, like the end of an era, like your job has been fulfilled, like what do you do whenever your kids are blah, 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 blah. So I feel like that's why they're so intense, those ones. Mm-hmm. They have these really dark and dour moments. Like, whenever she fucking pulls the string on that doll and just drops her back in the bin, I'm like, no kid's gonna get how upsetting that is.
That would be, yeah.
Yeah, but an adult has a frame of reference to be like, oh, the rejection that toy must be feeling.
She's all curled up in the fetal position.
So brutal.
And
so brutal.
We were talking earlier, too, about like the difference between forced political agendas and more organic political agendas. This one was very organic. I mean, Jessie was now the hero to the little girl. The villain was a lady doll, and arguably the main character was Woody, but the other main character was Bo. But it wasn't aggressive. It wasn't the kind of thing that would create an argument. Yep. It was just presenting a world where that was the fact, and that's progressivism to me. They did a really good job.
Plot-wise, it logistically makes sense.
Yeah.
I want to sound like a broken record, but Into the Spider-Verse does a very similar thing, but instead of gender, with black people. Mm-hmm. It's so Miles is so representative of like the black community. He loves He listens to hip hop. He fucking like does graffiti art. He yells Brooklyn when he goes in there.
Brooklyn!
Brooklyn!
Punta!
And, yeah, he says Punta, like little shit like that.
And that's a great ending too, where he's like, anyone can wear the mask. If
Yeah.
you didn't know that already,
Yeah.
like now you do. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's like not Spider-Man. In other words, saying Spider-Man don't have to be white.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the message. Like, it could be a woman. It could be a guy.
be anyone.
It can be anyone.
Everyone has the potential.
Yeah, so you're right. Like that's what I liked about this Toy Story was just like we don't really have to have view through the lens of like every villain has to be a bad guy.
And
like,
it also wasn't like Incredibles 2 where they were hitting you over the head with their politics.
wherever what's his face Saul. Why can't Saul Goodman's
Saul
character
Goodman, yeah.
was like, we need a woman's face on this thing, which in itself is kind of like you said about, you know, Captain Marvel and fucking MCU, like separate but equal.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
really? Like,
It seems modern political correctness. Like, I hate that term because only like white trash bag pieces of shit use like, oh, you're fucking political correctness. Mm-hmm. We need another term to shit on some of these extreme ideologies.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
it's kind of backwards thinking that the white businessman in that movie is like, I need an Aunt Jemima for my company
Right.
to be this friendly motherly voice, you know?
right, it's too on the nose, and like as I said earlier, it doesn't create conversations; it creates arguments.
Yeah.
And the arguments don't lead to a better tomorrow.
No.
Like
Yeah.
Jurassic World. Hey, beefcake, and they're like, "Why are you throwing in such an awkward reference?"
Oh, yeah,
Remember
I
that,
forgot.
where she bitches about being objectified and then objectifies a guy in the same scene?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Kind of forgot about that movie. Like 4 minutes after I left the fucking theater, I forgot about that movie.
I frequently think about Thunder Guns is rolling away from lava. It makes me it makes me laugh.
Why is Pratt Thunder Guns?
Owen Thunder Guns.
Is that his No.
It's like Owen Grady or something. But he's such like a house building douchebag. I don't know.
He is literally building a house when they
He's
introduce
literally
him.
building a
Oh
house.
my god. He might as well have been like fucking like changing the axle on his fucking bike with grease on his hands, smoking a cigar.
Oh. Yeah. It's so stupid. So the world's stupid. But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about how stupid the world has become. Actually, no, can I segue this into how stupid the world's become?
Well, now we are.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about
Because
that.
I learned today about the Toy Story 4 controversy, which was really it's like finding a copy of Mein Kampf in your friend's basement, and it makes you go, "Wait, what?" Because there was a when I googled Toy Story 4 lesbian scene, because all these people are tweeting about it,
Like, did I miss something?
Did I
Was
miss
there a
it? Yeah.
post-credit scene?
and I tweeted or I googled it and trademark, and it's just because there's a two women drop a kid off at the daycare center. That's it.
Which I didn't even notice.
Didn't even notice.
Yeah.
And there's like the website that I found this information on was this super like evangelical right-wing website being like, the mainstream media enemies of the people are trying to censor our ideologies, so if you want to be part of our mailing list, here's how you sign up. And then it was like, you may not have noticed, but Disney is attempting to corrupt your children by having LGBT like pieces of shit in their fucking movies. And honestly, I've gotten to the point now where I'm like, we are closer to the trees than we are to the stars in terms of evolution. Sometimes you need to round up people and hang them in a public square and say, this is what happens if you fucking do this shit.
Right.
And I kind of feel like we might be at that point as a society where we need to like just fucking do that.
Because the fucking, like, what do you call it? The libertarian pragmatic person would be like, well, no, you have to educate these people. But, like, if you're going to be so adamant as to fucking call out a children's movie about toys
Right.
and being, like, corrupting with this agenda, I'm
Right.
like, who's the one who's virtue signaling here? It sounds like you're trying to fucking rally a bunch of assholes
Right.
using a children's cartoon as a fucking rallying point.
And if there were 100,000 of us on the entire planet, sure, let's make sure the next generation is good. We're at 7 billion. We need to start making bold statements to say this shit is not
It's ridiculous.
welcome.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Right, and I think that you need to take a bit of a savage step.
I know what they should have
sometimes.
done? Right at the end of that movie, Jesse sees fucking Bo Peep, and they're like, ew, it's been so long. And they just start making out on that
It's
tarp.
like a hardcore
Yeah.
scissoring scene.
And
of
then,
the
like,
credits.
all the fucking toys just start applauding, like, fucking eyes wide shut.
The tear.
Just choke on that. Deal with it.
But no, the world, like, yeah, that was my segue into insanity and my extremist view of sometimes you gotta stretch your neck to send a signal. Because this is getting fucking bananas.
Yeah, like, I'm just imagining if back in, like, where were all these fucking people when Little Mermaid was out? Like, or all these Disney movies. Like, you want to tell me that oh, Disney is now using like, you know, the LGBT community to fucking instigate their fucking left-wing liberal message.
Well,
like,
with the other hand, giving Trump money.
Exactly.
That's a true sign of evil, right?
But
there.
it's like, where were you whenever they were fucking doing all these Disney movies about princesses trying to fucking, you know, find the right man? They were fucking being... Essentially, if you look at, like, Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast, they're not ideal relationships that either of these women are in.
Right.
But you let that fucking go because you like the songs. Like, was that...
Yeah, because that was the first... That was, I guess, the second wave of political correctness, which is the 90s. And these movies came out in the 90s, but people weren't screaming. I guess they did scream about Aladdin, though. They forced them to cut the line. They've cut off here.
But that was more of like a xenophobia thing. It wasn't a gender thing.
No, but it was still that same beast. That same beast of unable to objectively say, yeah, 4,000 years ago in the Middle East, they cut your fucking ear off if they didn't like your face.
Yeah.
If we pretend the history isn't what history is, then it's doomed to repeat.
Right.
But they got freaked out about that one, but it was mild compared to now. It's ridiculous.
I just want, you know what? Just make fucking gay up the MCU.
Why not? Who cares?
You know, I found out recently that
just don't be pushy with it. Don't turn it into propaganda.
No.
Keep it as art.
Yeah.
But don't be just... I guess it takes talent to write it nuanced.
So I found out recently that Janelle Monáe, my goddess, my love, one of the greatest deities on the planet right now, she's dating Lupita Nyong'o.
Okay.
Lupita Nyong'o used to be dating Denai Guerrera, who plays Okoye.
Oh, really? That
And
was
then,
awkward on set.
You know what I'm saying? And then Janelle Monáe was dating Valkyrie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm like, you give me a fucking like badass Charlie's Angels thing where like Okoye, Valkyrie, and what's the name of fucking Lupita Nyong'o's character? The one that
Maz Kanata.
Make her gay while you're at it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the story, dude. Like, what if fucking Shuri and Valkyrie fell in love, and then like you do the same story you've done a billion times with a fucking straight couple. Just do that. Like, not force it down people's throats. Like, just deal with it.
Yeah, just like I always say, make it the world. Don't make it the world it should be.
Yeah,
because make it the reality.
I think
then
one
it becomes reality.
The implications. I think they might have cut it out of Ragnarok, but the reason why Valkyrie's so traumatized by Hela is because one of the Valkyries, I think it's the one she's holding that she kills, was her lover.
They confirmed she's bisexual.
Yeah.
Which I think they wanted to leave the door open for her and Thor getting together instead of just making her...
gay.
Yeah.
Straight up gay. But let's be fair. Like, look at Tessa Thompson. Like, come on. Yeah. That chick don't fuck around. I don't know. It's just an interesting dichotomy now where it's kind of like you can't have... People are all rooting for progressiveness, but the second you put an iota of it in a movie, immediately this demographic that's been silent about all of it just jumps out of the woodwork. I guess they haven't been silent. These fuckers show up at gay pride protests all the time.
We don't want to get too political because we might end up sounding like angry old men. But I don't know. And also elitist. I always have to walk that line of like, it's like it's the objectiveness of scientific method when you can go, oh, we have stats that say people who lean left wing or typically have less of an education or right wing than left wing. But it makes you sound like an elitist fuck when you say shit like that. Yeah. It doesn't change the reality that that's the way it is.
Because that way of thinking only comes from a myopic place.
But it's also an ancient place.
Yeah.
It's a lack of, almost, like, again, not to sound like an elitist prick, but from a strictly scientific method perspective, it's a lack of cerebral evolution. It's a lack of acceptance and an ability to accept change and difference. It's stuck in a world that you think has to be the same because that's the world you were born into, and it can't be any other way. And you can't comprehend that the world before the world you were born into was way different. Right. And it's a lack of self-awareness. And it's a genetic thing. It's how your brain works. Right. And
it's a bit of empathy problem too, where it's just like,
empathy is an evolutionary trait.
Yeah, like you wake up in the morning and you have to take a shit. So does fucking everybody. These people want to have love and express it any way they want. You can't wrap your fucking head around that. Yeah. So much so you're gonna get mad at a CGI gay couple now. Like, what is wrong with you?
Empathy is arguably the most modern human evolutionary trait of because our brains and our bodies evolve at different rates. We've been in the same physical form for 200,000 years, but our brains have completely skyrocketed in our ability to assess the world around us and empathy. And that's why I think I'm not a religious person, but I think if whatever Jesus was based off was probably one of the first people to exhibit empathy.
Yeah, do unto others, man.
Which opened up a whole new train of thought for the entire species.
Well,
we're not all on board with it yet.
It's something that we haven't really put into practice either. The idea of just like, hey, see that guy over there? He has a family too.
Yeah.
So maybe don't be a total fucking asshole to him.
Yeah.
We can't wrap our heads around that.
Can't get it.
You know who does though? Woody.
Bringing us back to what we're supposed to be talking about.
Because that dude is all about, like, you know, that's what I kind of love about that character. What's so endearing, and why I like the way they retired him in this one.
So innocent.
So innocent. He's just like a father figure. He's
because he doesn't have a dick.
It's true. He's completely harmless. He's felt. He's cute.
It's not Toy Story 4 more horny than sad.
Kind of ended that way, though.
It did a little bit.
Bonnie needs you, Woody. Yeah, but
I guarantee there's like some weirdo art of Woody and Bo.
Considering what I've seen on the internet, there's gotta be. Those sheep are there.
Yeah, breaking that porcelain.
You can take that porcelain arm off. Oh, you know who gets it the worst? That little Polly Pocket tiny cop.
Oh, she gets eaten by the cat, and then puked back out.
Oh, she does get eaten by the cat. Yeah, she's been all sorts of places.
She's been all sorts of. Oh, I wonder if she's like utilized.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. Because you think about like Buzz Lightyear, you can just unscrew these toys.
Yeah.
And just have her like rummage around inside you and shit.
It's like Ant-Man inside of Iron Man's suit.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
sexy.
It got sexy.
Yeah.
Are you disappointed that he didn't explode in Thanos' asshole?
Where did that even come from? How did that even become a thing? Ant-Man should kill Thanos by blowing up his butt.
This is one of those things. The internet reminds me sometimes of like mold.
A swamp.
Yeah, where like if you don't pay attention and you don't tend to it regularly, one day you lift the lid up and you're like, Jesus Christ, what is that? Yeah. You just leave people unchecked and they come up with the weirdest fucking thing.
Weirdest, like I get that sounds like something you'd be sitting around, you'd be drinking, smoking a joint, and you laugh your ass off at that. Yeah. How did it become a global phenomenon?
To the point where people were almost upset it didn't happen.
Right. Where they actually were interviewing Kevin Feige about it. Like, it got to that point. How does that happen? I don't understand. It's hilarious. Objectively hilarious.
My favorite is someone did like a little animation of it. It was a silhouette of Thanos like, in vain, like in like pain, and also you see splat the explosion, Ant-Man pops out.
Oh, Jesus Christ. This is typically on topic where it's Disney.
It's all
Disney.
I think it was either the Russos or Feige finally shot it down by saying, like, no, because Thanos is a Titan, genetic makeup is so strong that if Ant-Man expanded his asshole, his fucking muscles would just crush him to death, he would die.
I love this because I know the Russo brothers were like, what? And then I know Paul Rudd was like, what? And I know Kevin Feige was like, what? But I like one of them eventually went, wait.
It was, what do you call it, Marcus and Mafiri. The writers were just like, fuck this, we gotta shoot this
down. What
are
you doing? Toy Story 4. It was all new writers, all new producers, all new directors too, wasn't it? It was no one involved with the original.
It was just a literal reboot.
Yeah.
Completely new crew.
But was it a completely new crew who did 3? Or did they bring back...
I think a couple of the original writers. If
back?
I'm not mistaken, 3 was based on an idea that they had since day one.
Way back in the day.
Where they were like, if we have to do a trilogy, this is where we'd like them to end up.
What happens when he grows up.
Yeah.
And I remember when the movie first started, in the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, I'm kind of sad that it didn't then jump forward to Bonnie being grown up. And even having the next kids, but then I realized, oh, wait, no, these are never going to end.
Yeah.
You can't progress them that quickly. So I wonder if they're going to do 2 movies, and then the third one will be the progression, and then 2 movies, and the third one will be the progression
onwards.
Yeah,
you could just cycle out that cast. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were never gonna have like there was no way you were gonna put Key and Peele in the first one.
No,
but like now,
we didn't even talk about them. The sewn together.
I've been saving it because they were my favorite part.
They were adorable.
My favorite is just like you can keep recycling that crew. Like you're never gonna run out of cute toys to make. You're gonna run out of celebrities to do the voices. So I think that's one of those franchises, unlike Star Wars, where you can work in perpetuity, where you can just keep making shit. But oh my god, what was I don't remember the name. Birdie, was it just Birdie and Bunny? That was it, right?
Look like on the inside.
My favorite moment was at the end, whenever they had the vision of them getting gigantic and chasing the dude around with the laser.
Yeah.
Because one, the animation was insanely realistic, and two, it was just horrifying. Like Pixar was clearly.
Was that an end credits thing?
It was a post-credit scene.
Oh, I didn't see the
You didn't
post-credit
see that?
scenes. No.
There was a great part where like they were just imagining the situation where the stoner fucking fair guy who ran the ride,
Okay.
they morphed into giant kaiju like creatures and were chasing him around with laser eyes. But then it cuts back to real life and it's just them telling the story
of it?
like pretending they have laser eyes. But the way they did the animation of them huge with like the fur billowing and smoke and fire,
Yeah?
it looked so
Shit,
good.
I should have stuck around.
So funny.
One thing I thought was odd about them, though, which I don't know if it would count as a plot hole, but they were desperate to find a kid, too. Why didn't they go with Bonnie? Why did they stay with Bo and with Woody?
Because they found a kid.
Who?
Oh, wait, no, they stayed with Bonnie at the end, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because they found a kid. They wanted to get to a kid. They got to Bonnie's.
No, I'm sorry. They didn't stay. They stayed with Bo and Woody.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they stayed at the fair because at the end they're helping people
Yeah.
out.
So, but I was, because they were just hanging up in the...
Someone wanted Key and Peele in that movie. They
Right?
had no plans for them whatsoever.
Because it would seem like at the end when they were on the RV that they would have just gone with Buzz and been with Bonnie. That's all they wanted. That's what Woody promised them and got them to come with them in the first place. So it was weird that the last second they were like, no, we're just going to stay here.
Maybe,
It was weird, right?
We want to keep them open for the fucking sequels or having them running around doing
Just doing
shit.
something.
But I read an interview, I think it was with Peele, and he was saying that, like, for that, the one scene where they had to sing, like, we gonna get a kid,
Oh, yeah,
we gonna
yeah,
get
yeah.
a kid. Apparently they sang for, like, they're like, in this scene, they did a similar thing with Monsters Inc. for the little girl who played Boo, where they're like, we need you to say this, so they just followed the kid around with a microphone for hours until they got
It, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They did the
just
same.
following around Key and Peele?
No, apparently the Key and Peele just started improvising songs in the booth, and they went for like 20, 30 minutes for a 40-second clip they
That's
used
pretty
in the
awesome.
movie.
That's pretty... I remember I saw an interview with Tom Hanks where he said that reading the final lines was choking him up. Which I didn't think the lines were enough to choke him up. It was the music and the combination of everything else.
Yeah.
But they clearly used one of those takes. Because there's a point where Woody's voice cracks beyond what an actor could do. Even an actor like Tom Hanks.
Right.
Like, oh, that was him actually choking up.
Which is cute, man.
Yeah.
I love that scene. Like, again, like, that was one of those moments I'm like, oh, that's why you made this movie. Or, like, just seeing, like...
Just to see Woody move on.
Well, the opening got me whenever he's underneath the box and Bo is like, there's enough room in the box if you want to come with us. And then the callback at the end of that movie where they redo that scene, you realize, like, oh, he's going to leave.
Yeah, he's gonna
like,
do it. Yeah.
It landed. It hit home because, again... The fuck I give a shit about the toys leaving Andy. Andy turned into an adult. He had a cell phone. You don't give a fuck about no toys anymore.
And
but,
we don't really have a connection to Bonnie either as an audience. 'cause
Exactly.
We've only seen her for the end of the last film.
But seeing Woody say goodbye to his pals and shit, you're like, oh, that hit home.
Yeah.
That was effective for me. Like,
So I'm assuming that he's now traveling around with a fair. It seems pretty obvious how they get them back together. The fair would come to town.
or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then he'd be in town and meet up with the toys for another whirlwind adventure of some fashion.
Right.
Whatever existential concept they want to wrestle with.
You know what bums
in another
me out?
10 years.
Well, what bummed me out is that the whole idea of Forky, like, I don't know about you, I made tons of toys when I was at school. I threw them all out.
They're all dead.
Yeah, I still have a bunch of my proper toys, but those little homemade ones. So I want to see the movie where Forky's facing the fucking extinction.
Well, that would he'd be unless a Woody came along to like fuck with your Forky's head. They're happy to be back in the trash because all Forky wanted was to go back to trash.
Now he has a girlfriend, that knifey plastic fork.
Oh, is that an end credit scene too?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah. So basically, it's like beat for beat the same reveal. Like
Literally birthing him from the
they
backpack.
take. Yeah, you're right. They open up the thing and birth him out.
And he's
You're
like,
you're right. Yeah. Oh my god. Wow. I never think of that.
It's a little horrifying.
It is like it's a little on the nose. But
They should have had like red juice
it's just
flow out.
his fucking like shoelace wrapped around his stomach.
Yeah.
He has to cut it off.
And then just like bits of fork after birth come out of the bag.
That was the original take, and they're like, it's a little fucking
It's a little
literal.
much.
They do
He
the
gets
same.
knifey.
They do the same thing, but it's Jesse, and they're like, "How was the first day of first grade or whatever it is?"
Okay.
And it was good. She's made a friend. No, she's already making friends. No, she made a friend.
Oh, they flashed forward a year.
Yeah, they do the exact same thing, and then she pulls out like a knife with like straw hair or whatever, and it's almost like whenever it's one of my favorite moments. Also, Michael Keaton, when they Ken sees Barbie in the third
Oh,
one,
yeah,
and
yeah.
time slows down. They're like, "Hey."
Yeah. I forgot about that. I gotta watch the third one again.
Third one's pretty good. If you skip the second one, it's better because you're
What
like.
does Buzz do in the third one? We were talking about this earlier. He goes Spanish, but I don't remember anything else he does.
Third one, he's kind of the one. Basically, Woody wants to go back to Andy, despite the fact he's going to college. But Buzz is it's kind of like Civil War, where Buzz is just like, no, I'm on team staying here.
And they were being boxed. They were getting ready to be addict.
To the addict.
Right?
So
Yeah.
Buzz is the one who's just like, listen, dude, like, we've got it pretty good here at this preschool. Like, we're just going to stay here. Then he slowly finds out there's a whole conspiracy going on, and that's when they flip him to Spanish. And he becomes an idiot again.
So maybe when they flipped him back to being regular Buzz, he was just a little brain damaged. Because in this one, that was an awkward,
idiot.
the most awkward ass scene. Which again, all I could picture was because Tim Allen seems so uninterested in all of his delivery.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's like, "You have an inner voice," and Woody's like, "Yeah, my voice tells me." He's like, "Oh," and he starts pushing his buttons. Like, you've been around for a very long time. You've never where is this coming from? And I was trying to remember. Is like the last one. Did he get brain damage or something? The last one when he flipped to Spanish. I should have watched it again.
I mean, he always has been kind of a ding-dong. Like, even after the first one where he realizes he's a toy, he still speaks like an astronaut.
Yeah.
He's like, we have to reach the star base. And it's like,
Yeah.
dude, you know you're a fucking toy.
He's just still into it.
So I guess in this one they really leaned on it. It's just like, nah, that's just...
This is Buzz.
This is Buzz. It did kind of get ridiculous to the point where he'd be like, meteor shower above, and he'd look up and he'd see them. I'm like, well, that was decidedly convenient. That worked out perfectly. But again, I'm arguing the realism of a movie where toys come to life. So,
but then also was the idea like in the writers' room, the idea that he was making his own inner voice because he kept hitting the same button. It would just say what he wanted
different
it to
things.
say.
Yeah,
it wasn't going. It wasn't cycling
maybe,
through.
Maybe.
Yeah. All of his he never said to infinity and beyond.
That's
you know?
right.
So we've gone off the rails. We haven't even really talked about Toy Story. I'm going to excuse it to the alcohol that I've had, but
There has been libation.
there has been a little libations, but overall, let's do the classic. What would you rate or would you recommend Toy Story for?
Let me put it this way: where would I put it among if I had to rank the original whole series?
Let's do that.
I love number one's classic. It's a classic fairy tale. Like, it's just perfect through and through. I would then put. See, I like 2, even though it's kind of just catch the ball.
Yeah.
It's very, like, video game based of just objectives.
It was designed to be a direct-to-video sequel.
Yeah.
That
And that's why I like it. It feels very Temple of Doom. I'm like, I'm just going to enjoy watching my favorite characters do some shit.
Yeah.
3 is, like, the gut punch.
It's like art. It
But
went from kids movie to art.
To art, but I think I like 4 a little bit more.
Than 3.
Than 3.
Really?
Just because... Maybe not. It's a hard call. I like 4 more than 2.
Yeah.
Maybe 1, 3, 4, 2. No, I don't want to put 2 that low though. It's hard.
See, I do that. I think that's mine.
1, 3, 4, 2.
3, 4, 2.
4 and 2 are very close though. They're very close together. It might go 1, 3, 2, 4. Like, I can't really decide.
So you'd make the 4th the worst Toy Story movie.
And that's not saying like it's unlikable. It's
Yeah.
just I have to pick one to be the bottom. I think 4 and 2 are both pretty.
They're neck and neck.
They're neck and neck. Like the
I
parts.
think I give 4 more than 2. Because 2, like you said, 2 does feel like what like just continuing the story but not really having a trajectory.
Yeah.
It's just sort of an adventure. It doesn't really 2 doesn't really have anything to say. I'm not really sure what the theme of what's 2 about. Like,
I would say, oh man, that's the first time you see a toy. Dude,
but like Woody
you're gonna
gets
make me go down that road.
He gets restored, and then
but the Sarah McLachlan song when they deal for the first time
Jessie.
of someone being rejected.
Yeah.
That whole idea of just she intensely loved this girl, and then one day he was just like, I'm old enough. I like nail polish now and fucking disco posters.
I guess it.
But that was a new idea for that universe.
But I guess it doesn't expand much beyond Jessie though. Her flashback and then her motivation for not wanting to leave.
Buzz has a father complex.
That I hated that.
You hate that.
I hated that
Love
it was I hate the whole Darth Vader thing at the end
man.
where he goes no over the elevator.
Father.
I didn't like that. I get it. I'm overly cynical, but I probably shouldn't be because I haven't watched that movie since I originally watched it and was like, meh.
It's goofy fun. In terms of just a placeholder, it's just goofy. Like, I love the sequence where they're under the traffic pylons.
Oh, boom, dum, dum,
And
dum,
they,
dum, dum,
stop!
dum. Yeah.
I said stop! But
Yeah.
that whole sequence is fucking hilarious.
Hey, you know who disappeared from that franchise? Is the little aliens.
Fuck them.
Where were they though?
Fuck them.
Were they in part 3?
They were in part 3. They become Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head's kind of like surrogate kids.
Okay, yeah.
But they...
I wonder if she keeps them inside of her. That would be horrifying.
And she like births them every morning.
Yeah.
Do they show up in number 3? No, number 4?
I don't remember seeing them.
You know what Easter egg I did love, because Pixar has, like every company, their own little inside baseball Easter eggs. They put the Pizza Planet car and everything.
I was about to ask that.
It was on a dude's. It was one of the carnies had it as a calf tattoo.
Really?
Yeah. So good.
I didn't even notice.
I was like, so clever.
That's sort of like the Cornetto trilogy ending with just the fluttering of the packaging onto the fence.
Because like you as the audience, you forgot about it. But
Oh, no, there it
last
is.
second,
Yeah.
there it is. How does it work for you? How's it rank for you?
I thought it was good, but not great. Like, I honestly... it's not comparable to, say, Indiana Jones 4, but it has the same thing for me where I'm like, you finished this. I feel like this was kind of ultimately... It didn't have anything to say that you couldn't have said in another vehicle. You know what I mean? Like, the themes that you presented aren't exclusive to toys. It could have been in a completely original Pixar movie that explored the same themes. And I really like the way 3 ends, so I'm like, it's good. A thumbs up, definitely. Go see it, especially if you like Toy Story. But for me personally, I kind of wish they just ended it with 3.
Now that you say it, it does remind me of Inside Out. In the sense of, like, your main characters realizing that they're not obsolete, but maybe, like, their opinion isn't necessarily
As important
as they realize. They kind of need this other character, da-da-da. In this one, it's kind of like, well, your main character realized he's not important. Maybe he should just kind of fuck off and make a life of his own.
It's not a story that's specifically needed to be a Toy Story story.
Yeah, you're right.
And again, I'm always advocating for more original stories. I'm never a fan of sequels, so I'm always hoping they just come up with something brand new, but then they come up with a good dinosaur and a bomb, so they get scared and they make another sequel.
Was
right?
that bad? I never saw it.
I've enjoyed The Good Dinosaur.
I just like dinosaurs.
Yeah, it was as if the asteroid never killed them, and so they were hanging out with people, but people were like their pets.
Did you? Oh no, you didn't. There was a trailer for their new one.
What's the new one?
Their new one is a very similar idea, but instead of like a dinosaur entering the real world, it's fantasy world.
Okay.
So the two main actors are Chris Pratt and Tom Holland.
Interesting.
And like, it basically, Holland's like this little kid. It looks a lot like Detroit Rock City.
Okay.
But for this fantasy world.
Was there a trailer? Was a trailer for?
There's a trailer for. I forget what it's called, but it's very much. It reminded me a lot of Matt Groening's new venture, Disenchantment. Of like, what if we try to modernize the fantasy realm, but like really nail it on the head? So it's like, it's a domestic household with like I forget. I think she's like a pixie mom, and she has a dragon for her pet. But like, in the hands of Pixar, I'm like, this could have potential to be real. They're good at like genre mashing.
I came in late to the movie, and then I left right as it ended, so I didn't get to see the post credits or trailers. Was there a short? Are they still doing their shorts?
No, they cut. That's the one thing I noticed, because I remember it goes from the Pixar logo and the lamps in the rain. And then the rain's the first scene. And I was just like, oh shit, like
they're starting.
Because November, they have an entire platform where they can put all of those shorts.
Oh, right.
So they're not Pixar said we're not bothering with the cartoons anymore. They're going straight to Disney Plus.
That's as sad as Marvel stopping doing their one shots.
I know. I really like those because you probably were old enough for this. Remember back in the day when you used to go to the movies and they gave you a little Woody Woodpecker cartoon at the start of the flick? Yeah, it brought me back to that shit.
That's too bad.
I know.
This Disney streaming service is more negative than positive, ultimately.
I wish I remember where I heard it, but this is another more successful podcast, and they said eventually it's going to come to the point where it's going to be, do you want to go out for a Disney or stay in for a Netflix?
Yeah.
Like, it's really going to...
I don't think Netflix is going to survive at all.
Or was it...
Go out for Disney or stay in for Disney.
Go out for a Disney or stay in for Disney Plus, really.
Yeah, because Netflix is floundering. They've put all of
Well, that's what you get where you greenlight a bunch of bad fucking movies. Like...
Well, mostly Netflix just acquires movies that have already been made. Like, that's 90% of their content.
So they're like a production studio that people can just sell shit to.
Yeah, and they rarely will finance... Like, Stranger Things, they finance.
But they seem to fucking buy everything.
They buy everything because they always think that there's going to be a market for something. But the problem is it's now just become a sea of Like,
and that's just it. It kind of reminds me of like flicking through the channels on Saturday, Sunday afternoon, and you're just getting like this mismatch of movies. Some are amazing, and then some of them are fucking Bird Box.
And it's creepy as hell because we're on the trajectory of how they wanted to turn the internet 10 years ago and have failed because of net neutrality. But now with the right-wing slant that's happening to the entire governance of the world, net neutrality has gone the way of the warrior, as the phrase goes. And they wanted to basically turn the internet into cable television. So, like, SpaceActionHeroes.com can't exist in this world. You actually will be throttled down because we're not part we're not paying into the provider. And so like, you want the internet. What do you want? Well, I want movies, and I want porn, and I want, coming soon.net or something. You buy that package, and you only have access to those sites.
It's like back in the 80s with the fucking packages that fucking cable companies used to have.
That's exactly what they're trying to do, because they haven't evolved in their thinking to understand how to ride this modern horse. So they're trying to repackage it as the way it used to be, and that's terrifying.
It's a massive repercussion of just like, we've been stealing a lot of shit. And they want to fucking keep it all under wraps.
Clearly doesn't make much of a difference, though. I mean, the most downloaded movie was Endgame, and it made $3 billion.
In like 4 days.
Right.
So.
People tend to download shit and then go see it in theaters anyways. They just want something to reference. But that's the death of Netflix is going to mean that, because right now there's Yahoo has a streaming service. Amazon has a streaming service. Hulu, Disney. Crave
is okay.
But all these things you're now going to be buying in packages. And you're not going to be able to just go www.sockfetish.com unless you buy the sock fetish package. It's going to be like, okay, well, it's really fucking weird, and it's kind of horrifying, because it means people like us,
sock fetishists
are going to have to pay for it. Or people with their own websites are going to be throttled down so far that if more than 2 people visit it, it's just going to crash.
Well, under that rationale, I can't wait for the next Toy Story trilogy. I'll be
this is the first one, I guess.
I'll be anxiously awaiting it. Because it's all I'll be watching, apparently. You got a friend.
Thanks for listening to our bizarre ramblings about Toy Story. Well, fuck. You want to take it?
Thanks for listening to our podcast about Toy Story 4. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or insults, you can send them to spaceactionheroes@gmail.com. That's Space Action Heroes for this week. Oh, Stranger Things next week?
Yeah, we could do a Stranger Things.
I'm on episode 5. I'll probably finish it before I'll finish it tonight. Who am I kidding?
Yeah, we'll do
it's an easy watch.
It might be a few weeks, but because I gotta get through it, and this is obviously we've recorded a couple. To look behind the curtain, we're kind of backlogging a few podcasts here, so it's already 2 weeks.
I just started watching Stranger Things, so people know it just came out.
So most likely our next podcast will be Stranger Things. Let's do it. Let's aim for that.
Yeah.
So look forward to that, guys, and like, subscribe, and share our shit. And if you see us on the street, give us a hug.
Don't touch me.
Touch me.